Shedeur and Andrew Berry proves Jim Haslam was right. This proves that Andrew Berry was the one who wanted Shedeur. Look at their relationship. Look at how Shedeur is. It's almost like Shedeur is, just chill with him. He ain't got to act funny with him. None of that. Shedeur is just opening up to him. And Andrew Berry, he seemed proud of Shedeur. He told him he was proud of him. Now, we know Jimmy Haslam stated that he didn't really want Shedeur. It was Andrew Berry call. And I think this interaction right here, the way the body language and how they looking, this says everything.
That Shedeur Sanders complained of oblique soreness during the warm-ups this morning, and they made a decision to shut him down. They had planned to use him in the joint practices with the Philadelphia Eagles today, but they decided to shut him down, make sure that he's okay, so maybe he can come out here tomorrow, Thursday, for the last joint practice and be available for Saturday's preseason game.
What you're about to see will blow your mind. Andrew Berry, the Cleveland Browns GM, was caught on a secret recording having a private conversation with Shedeur Sanders that completely contradicts everything we've been told about their relationship. The Browns accidentally left Shedeur mic'd up during his preseason debut, and when this footage leaked, it revealed a shocking truth that exposes the real power struggle happening behind closed doors in Cleveland. While owner Jimmy Haslam publicly claimed he never wanted Shedeur and that it was Andrew Berry's call, this leaked audio tells a completely different story, one that shows Berry might be playing games with the rookie's career. You're not ready for what really went down between these two when they thought nobody was watching. Listen, I've been covering the NFL for years, and I've never seen anything quite like this situation brewing in Cleveland. When you dig deep into what's really happening with Shedeur Sanders and this Browns organization, it becomes crystal clear that there's a massive disconnect between what they're telling us publicly and what's actually going down behind the scenes. Let me break this down for you, because this story has layers that go way deeper than what most people are seeing on the surface. The Browns released footage from Shedeur's first preseason game, and buried in that footage was something they probably never intended for us to hear. A private conversation between their rookie quarterback and their general manager that reveals the real truth about this whole quarterback situation.
We definitely had a win today. We definitely had a win. I'm thankful for the opportunity. I'm excited for it. I don't feel like, I took full advantage of the opportunity. Sorry, Pops. I ain't do what I was supposed to do fully. But, we'll live to see another opportunity.
Now, that was Shedeur at the end of the game. Now, a lot of people's kind of mad that he said that to Coach Prime, but if you know ball and you paid attention to the game, you know exactly why Shedeur said that. And I ain't finna keep talking over the footage. Let's
Thank you.
Here's what makes this whole thing so controversial. Shedeur was mic'd up during this game, something that most people didn't even realize until this footage came out. And what we heard in that conversation tells us everything we need to know about where Andrew Berry's head is really at when it comes to this kid. You see Shedeur coming off the field after the game, and he's clearly not satisfied with his performance. The kid's got that championship mentality, right? He's not looking for participation trophies. He's telling his pops, Coach Prime, that he didn't do what he was supposed to do fully. That's the kind of accountability you want to see from a franchise quarterback. But then comes the moment that changes everything. Andrew Berry pulls Shedeur aside, and you can see the body language immediately. This isn't some casual conversation between a GM and a player. This looks personal. Berry's leaning in, whispering something to Shedeur, and the way Shedeur responds. Man, it's like they've got this connection that goes way beyond just football business. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, and this is where I think Andrew Berry might be playing some serious games. Remember what Jimmy Haslam said publicly about the Shedeur Sanders pick? Haslam made it clear that drafting Shedeur wasn't his idea. He basically threw Berry under the bus and said it was the GM's call entirely. But when you watch this interaction between Berry and Shedeur, something doesn't add up. If Berry was really the one pushing hard for Shedeur, if he was really going to bat for this kid against ownership, why is the situation playing out the way it is now? Think about it. Berry gets Shedeur into the building, right? He convinces ownership to spend a high draft pick on him. Then what happens? They immediately start talking about Joe Flacco being the starter. They bring in Dylan Gabriel as competition. And now, just when Shedeur needs every snap he can get to prove himself, he's dealing with mysterious injuries that keep him off the field.
Well, here's what we know. I mean, after practice, Kevin Stefanski, the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, was not available to the media, but I did talk to him on the field as the players were coming off, and he told me that Shedeur Sanders complained of oblique soreness during the warm-ups this morning, and they made a decision to shut him down. They had planned to use him in the joint practices with the Philadelphia Eagles today, but they decided to shut him down, make sure that he's okay, so maybe he can come out here tomorrow, Thursday, for the last joint practice and be available for Saturday's preseason game.
This is where the story takes a really dark turn, and honestly, it's making me question everything about what Andrew Berry's real intentions are with Shedeur Sanders. Oh, we've got joint practices with the Eagles, right? This is huge for any rookie quarterback, but especially for Shedeur because he's competing for not just a starting spot, but literally the right to compete for playing time. Every snap matters at this stage of his career. And then what happens? Shedeur shows up to practice, and suddenly he's got oblique soreness during warm-ups. They shut him down for the entire practice session. Now, on the surface, that sounds like a team being cautious with their investment, protecting a young player from injury. But here's what's bothering me about this whole situation. The timing is incredibly suspicious. Shedeur had just come off a solid preseason debut where he showed real promise. He was building momentum, gaining confidence, and starting to look like he belonged on an NFL field. And right when he needs to build on that momentum, right when joint practices could give him valuable reps against a different defense, suddenly there's an injury issue. Look, I'm not saying Andrew Berry is deliberately sabotaging Shedeur Sanders, but the pattern here is concerning. You've got a GM who publicly fought to draft this kid, but then every decision since then seems designed to limit his opportunities rather than maximize them.
You don't have an overreaction. Sounds like a minor injury, of course, but I will say for a player like Shedeur, who is competing for almost the right to compete. Every snap is crucial. Many teams in the NFL treat joint practices as having more importance than preseason games, frankly. The fact that he got to play so much in preseason week 1 was a huge advantage in his competition with Dylan Gabriel, seems like, for QB2. It's also an opportunity to learn. You know, one thing I thought watching him play in that first preseason game, he looked accurate, thought he made good decisions, but you also saw him getting used to NFL speed. There were some moments where he was bailing on the pocket like he did in college. He has to learn. He can't do that in the NFL, but the only way he can learn that is by being on the field. So you want him to get back on the field.
Mina Kimes hit the nail on the head with her analysis here. And this is exactly why I think there's something deeper going on with Andrew Berry's handling of Shedeur Sanders. She said it perfectly. Shedeur isn't just competing for a starting job, he's competing for the right to compete. That's a crucial distinction that most people are missing. When you're a rookie quarterback in the NFL, especially one who came in with as much hype and expectations as Shedeur, every single snap you get is precious. Joint practices, in particular, are often more valuable than preseason games because you're going against different schemes, different players, different looks that you haven't studied all week. The fact that Shedeur missed those joint practices with the Eagles isn't just a minor setback, it's a massive opportunity lost. And here's what's really getting under my skin about this whole situation. The Browns knew exactly what they were doing when they shut him down. Think about the messaging here. They're not just protecting Shedeur from injury, they're sending a signal to the rest of the locker room, to the coaching staff, and to Shedeur himself about where he stands in the pecking order. By keeping him out of those crucial practices, they're essentially saying that his development isn't the priority right now. And that brings us back to Andrew Berry and what I think might be happening behind the scenes. Berry fought to get Shedeur in the building, right? But once he got him there, it's like the support system disappeared. Instead of creating an environment where Shedeur can thrive and develop, it feels like they're managing him more like a liability than an asset. Now, I want to be fair to Shedeur here because the kid has handled all of this drama with incredible maturity. When you watch his interactions with coaches, with teammates, with management, he's been nothing but professional. He's not complaining publicly about playing time. He's not creating drama in the media. He's just putting his head down and working. But here's what I think is really going on. And this is where the Andrew Berry backstab angle becomes crystal clear. Berry needed to justify the Shedeur pick to ownership, right? Haslam wasn't sold on the idea but Barry pushed for it. So now Barry's in a position where he has to prove he was right. But he also can't afford to be wrong that if Shedeur comes in and immediately struggles, that reflects poorly on Barry's evaluation skills. But if Shedeur comes in and dominates, then Barry has to explain why he didn't push harder to get more weapons around him, why the supporting cast isn't better, why the development plan wasn't more aggressive to what's the safest play for Barry. Keep Shedeur on the bench long enough to say you were being careful with his development, but not long enough that people start questioning why you drafted him in the first place. It's a political game, and unfortunately, Shedeur's career is caught in the middle of it. The leaked footage from that first preseason game gives us a glimpse into what the relationship between Barry and Shedeur really looks like when they think nobody's watching. And honestly, it looks like Barry is trying to have it both ways. Publicly supporting Shedeur while privately managing expectations and controlling his opportunities. Here's what really bothers me about this whole situation. Shedeur Sanders came into the league with everything you want in a franchise quarterback. The arm talent, the leadership, the football IQ, the work ethic. But instead of maximizing those strengths, it feels like the Browns are managing around his weaknesses that might not even exist. Every time Shedeur gets a chance to show what he can do, there's some reason why he can't get more opportunities. First, it was the depth chart behind Joe Flacco. Then it was competition with Dylan Gabriel. Now it's injury concerns that conveniently pop up right when he needs the most reps. And through it all, Andrew Barry is playing this political game where he gets credit for bringing Shedeur to Cleveland, but he doesn't have to take responsibility for the results because he's being careful with his development. Look, I've seen this story before in the NFL, and it rarely ends well for the rookie. When a front office starts playing games with a young quarterback's development, when they start prioritizing politics over performance, it usually means they're already planning their exit strategy. But here's the thing about Shedeur Sanders that I don't think Andrew Barry fully understands. This kid didn't come from nowhere. He's been dealing with pressure, expectations, and politics his entire football career. He's not going to fold under the weight of all this drama. If anything, the way he's handled this situation so far shows me that he's got the mental toughness to survive whatever games the Browns front office wants to play. The question is whether Andrew Barry is smart enough to stop playing games and start maximizing the talent he fought so hard to acquire. The secret recording that leaked from that preseason game might have been accidental, but it revealed something intentional. Andrew Barry's real relationship with Shedeur Sanders isn't what he's been selling to the public. And if Barry continues down this path of managing Shedeur's career instead of unleashing it, he might find himself answering some very uncomfortable questions when this kid eventually gets his real opportunity to show what he can do. Because mark my words, Shedeur Sanders is going to be a star in this league, with or without Andrew Barry's full support. The only question is whether Barry is going to be remembered as the GM who helped make it happen, or the one who tried to hold him back. What do you think about this whole situation? Is Andrew Barry really supporting Shedeur Sanders, or is he playing political games with a rookie's career? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure you subscribe because we're going to keep following this story as it develops. This is just the beginning of what could be one of the most dramatic quarterback situations we've seen in years. Subscribe now and hit that notification bell because you know we're bringing you all the inside scoops on Shedeur Sanders and the Browns drama as it unfolds.